PK here. I've talked about this subject before, and I feel the need to do it again. Every time I ever post something on social media about Super Mario Bros. 2, someone always brings up Doki Doki Panic. It never fails. There's always been this debate amongst gamers about which game is the true Super Mario Bros. 2. Many say Lost Levels should be, solely on the fact that it came out right after Super Mario Bros., and that is what it was called in Japan. Keyword in Japan, and nowhere else. But is that fair? Just because it has the title and came out 9 months after the first one, does that really make it a proper sequel? Is Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare a sequel to Red Dead Redemption? Why not? It is a game that can stand on its own and came out right after the first Red Dead Redemption. You could even make the same argument about New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U. Is New Super Luigi U a true sequel? Most people probably would say no. Another thing that doesn't get brought up a lot is the platform Lost Levels was originally released on. It was not released on the Famicom. It was released on the Famicom Disk System. I repeat, Disk System. It never got a proper official cartridge release in 8-bit form anywhere. Saying Lost Levels is a sequel to Super Mario Bros. Is like saying Sonic CD is the true sequel to Sonic 1. Actually, that's a bad example. People actually do that all the time, considering Sonic 2 was being developed separately at the same time as Sonic CD. But when most people talk about the original Sonic trilogy, they're talking about Sonic 1, 2, and 3, not Sonic 1 CD and 2 or 3. How is a game that has never had a proper cartridge release and was never released outside of Japan on the NES a true sequel to the game that's next sequel, Super Mario Bros. 3, is on a cartridge? Isn't it fair to say that Lost Levels is a precursor to downloadable content? It's a great question. If Nintendo had been genuinely proud of Lost Levels, they would have released it in NA and PAL regions, no matter how hard it was, which is exactly what they did with the real Super Mario Bros. 2. It was released everywhere. Nintendo had plenty of hard games on its system. They don't call it Nintendo hard for nothing. That's not a really great excuse. Super Mario Bros. 2 did so well that it was released later on in Japan as Super Mario USA. Why it was called USA puzzles me, since it was released in both the North American and PAL regions. A huge reason people don't consider Super Mario Bros. 2 to be a true sequel is because of the dreaded Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic. Ironically, that is also another game that was released exclusively on the Famicom Disk System. Anyone who has done research for 5 minutes on Super Mario Bros. 2 over the last 3 years, or at the very least watched my review of Super Mario Bros. 2, knows that what eventually became Doki Doki Panic started as a vertical scrolling Mario 2 prototype. It was reworked with Yume Kojo characters, and then was eventually reworked back into a Mario game it was meant to be all along. When people invoke Doki Doki Panic, it makes me cringe, because the whole thing is more complex than that, and the person that made that comment probably did no research and is continuing to spread this ignorance based on some irate gamer video that they watched from 6 years ago. Finally, one of the biggest reasons people hate on Super Mario Bros. 2 is because it was all a dream. My reply to that is, so what? Since Super Mario Bros. 3 was nothing but a stage play, Miyamoto confirmed that, I suppose that game isn't canon either by that logic. Speaking of Miyamoto, he even has gone on to say that Super Mario Bros. 2 is his favorite game, and no, he was not talking about Lost Levels. What more do people need to be convinced? And if none of that happened in any Mario universe, why do we have Birdo, Shy Guy, Pokey the Cactus, and Chomp Chomp? Another thing to ask yourselves is this. Who did you know in the 80s and early 90s who didn't like Super Mario Bros. 2? Before Lost Levels came out. In my opinion, the hate for Super Mario Bros. 2 is unfounded. It is nothing but revisionist history. It's not just our Super Mario Bros. 2 here in America, it is the Super Mario Bros. 2 for the world. If someone you know is suffering from the ignorance of not knowing that the North American and PAL region Super Mario Bros. 2 is more than just a Yume Kojo Doki Doki reskin, please share this video with them. Or share Cygnus Destroyer's video or the Gaming Historian's video as well about this subject. Theirs are longer and way better than this video, and those guys have way more street cred than I do. I'll leave links in the description below for their videos. If I linked this video in a comment you made on social media, now you know why. Thank you so much for watching and keep on gaming.